The idea of time travel has always fascinated humanity. Whether in science fiction or philosophical discussions, the concept of moving through time sparks our curiosity and imagination. When we think of time travel, many of us envision futuristic machines or magical portals that transport us to the past or future. However, more recent theories, both in science and spirituality, point to something even more intriguing and accessible: our own minds. More specifically, we're talking about the pineal gland. Renowned physicist David Bohm, famous for his research on the nature of the universe, suggested that the reality we perceive might be just a small fraction of a vast cosmic hologram where everything is interconnected. According to his theories, the human mind has the power to interact with this hologram, accessing information beyond our five senses. This idea leads us to a provocative question. Is it possible that our consciousness, by activating structures like the pineal gland, can transcend the barriers of time and space? Here, we begin to explore the possibility that the human mind, with the proper activation of the pineal gland, can access dimensions beyond our everyday perception. This raises the hypothesis of a non-physical time travel, but rather a mental and spiritual one, where consciousness could visualize and even interact with moments outside of linear time. And the pineal gland might be the key to unlocking this experience. For a long time, the pineal gland was considered responsible for only basic biological functions, such as regulating sleep cycles through the release of melatonin. However, ancient traditions, such as Indian Vedanta and Western esotericism, have always attributed a much deeper role to the gland, calling it the third eye and associating it with spiritual and psychic abilities. Today, more and more researchers are considering the possibility that this small gland plays a fundamental role in the expansion of human consciousness. This expansion could open doors to realities that transcend time and space, suggesting that time travel, as we understand it, may be more about heightened perception than advanced technology. The connection between the pineal gland and the possibility of time travel arises from a deeper understanding of the workings of the mind and the nature of reality. Unlike what our senses lead us to believe, the universe is not made up of solid matter. Everything, from the objects around us to the distant stars, is composed of energy vibrating at different frequencies. What we perceive as physical reality is, in fact, a projection of these energetic frequencies that our mind interprets and organizes. In this context, the human mind is also part of this energetic web, and this is where the pineal gland plays a crucial role. It acts as a central point in the interaction between our mind and the energy field around us. When the pineal gland is activated, through practices such as deep meditation, it begins to operate like a kind of receptor, picking up information that goes beyond the limits of our physical senses. Science has already proven that this gland is sensitive to both light and magnetism, but some theories suggest that it can also detect universal electromagnetic fields, expanding our perception. In this altered state of consciousness, the mind can access energy frequencies that are normally beyond our reach in everyday life. This phenomenon not only allows us to expand our perception of reality, but also opens us up to experiences beyond linear time. To better understand the relationship between this expansion of consciousness and time travel, we need to explore a fundamental concept. Time is not a rigid constant, but a mental construct used to make sense of the changes around us. What we call time is nothing more than a measurement of movement and change in energy. Thus, by altering the state of the mind, something that can be done with the activation of the pineal gland, we also alter our perception of time. In other words, the activation of the pineal gland may allow our minds to transcend linear time, making it possible to access information from other temporal dimensions, much like how we access memories or create future projections. Here, time travel takes on a new form. It's not about physical movement, but rather an expansion of consciousness. To fully grasp how the pineal gland might be linked to time travel, it's essential to understand the true nature of time. According to modern physics, time, like space, is a dimension of reality that can be perceived in different ways depending on the observer's point of view. Time is not an absolute entity, it is relative and flexible. Albert Einstein's theory of relativity has already shown that time can flow differently under certain circumstances, such as when we move at extreme speeds or are near a strong gravitational field. Simply put, what we call time is merely a measure of the change and movement of the energy around us. This idea that time is a mental construct opens the door to the hypothesis that by altering our state of consciousness, we can also alter our perception of time. And this is where the pineal gland plays a crucial role. When activated, it may allow the human mind to transcend the limitations imposed by linear time. Imagine time as a current flowing in one direction. In our common state of consciousness, we are trapped in this current, perceiving time sequentially, past, present, and future. But with the activation of the pineal gland, our mind could step out of this current and observe time from a broader perspective, as if it were outside of it. In this state, time would cease to be a straight line and become something more fluid, where past, present, and future coexist simultaneously. This explains the accounts of individuals who, in altered states of consciousness, describe experiences where time seems to stop, slow down, or even disappear completely. In these moments, the pineal gland is likely functioning as a portal, allowing the mind to connect with a reality where time, as we know it, doesn't exist. By transcending linear time, we are not physically traveling to the past or future, as seen in science fiction movies. Instead, we are expanding our perception, accessing a broader view of reality, where past or future events can be visualized as if they are happening now. This phenomenon can be described as a form of time travel of the consciousness. These ideas are not purely theoretical. Various spiritual practices and ancient traditions, such as those of Egypt and India, have always considered the pineal gland as a portal to higher dimensions of existence. Ancient cultures believed that by activating this gland, the mind could access elevated states of consciousness and thus transcend time and space. When we talk about time travel through the pineal gland, we are referring to the mind's ability to access realities beyond our usual perception. To better understand how this is possible, it's essential to grasp the concept of energy frequencies. Our brain, like the rest of our body, operates within an electromagnetic field. It constantly emits and receives vibrations and energy frequencies that interact with the environment around us. The pineal gland, in particular, is extremely sensitive to these frequencies. It functions as a transducer, meaning a device that converts energy from one form to another. In everyday life, our perception is limited by relatively low energy frequencies, which keep us connected to the physical world and the linear passage of time. However, when we are in altered states of consciousness, such as deep meditation or advanced spiritual practices, the pineal gland activates more intensely. In this state, it works like an antenna that can pick up more subtle and elevated frequencies, connecting our mind to a greater reality. These subtle frequencies are typically beyond our reach during common waking states. They can contain information about the past, the future, or even alternative realities. Tuning our minds to these frequencies is like changing radio stations, adjusting our perception to pick up information from other dimensions of time and space. This mental tuning can be described as a process of energetic alignment. Just as an antenna needs to be adjusted to pick up the correct signal, the human mind, through the pineal gland, can be tuned to access different layers of reality. This explains why some people, in deep meditative states, report time travel experiences, where they feel as though they can see the past or future as if they are there, vividly experiencing these events in a real and tangible way. Moreover, this activation of the pineal gland is not just about perception. Some theories suggest that by altering the frequency of the brain's electromagnetic field, it's possible to influence the very reality around us. In other words, we are not only accessing information from other timelines, but also consciously interacting with these realities. In this sense, the mind, when tuned to the right frequencies, not only observes the past or future, but can also choose which timeline to follow. This idea is supported by some theories in quantum physics, which claim that time and space are not fixed entities, but rather malleable, capable of being bent or crossed under certain conditions. By activating the pineal gland and tuning our minds to these higher frequencies, we are not merely accessing other realities, but also potentially influencing the flow of time in our own lives. Time travel, then, becomes not just a matter of expanded perception, but also a form of reality creation. One of the most intriguing concepts connecting the pineal gland to time travel is the idea that the universe is a hologram. This theory, championed by scientists like David Bohm, proposes that everything in the universe is interconnected in an energy field that functions like a hologram, where each part contains information about the whole. In other words, the universe is a projection of energy patterns, and our minds are capable of tuning into these projections. According to this holographic view, the human mind also operates like a hologram. It not only receives and interprets the universe's frequencies, but also projects them. This means that our perception of reality is largely shaped by how our mind interacts with these energy fields. When the pineal gland is activated, it enhances this interaction, allowing our mind to pick up information from different dimensions of time and space. Thus, the activation of the pineal gland is not just a perception mechanism, but a portal to greater realities. By tuning into the universal hologram, our mind can access information beyond the here and now. In this state, time is no longer perceived as linear. It becomes a fluid experience where past, present, and future are just different frequencies that can be accessed at any moment. Various spiritual traditions around the world have always attributed a central role to the pineal gland in extrasensory perception. The ancient Egyptians, for example, revered the pineal gland as the eye of Horus, believing it allowed access to higher dimensions of existence. Similarly, in India, the pineal gland is associated with the Ajna chakra, or third eye, considered the center of intuition and divine knowledge. These ancient teachings suggest that the ability to transcend time and space is something humanity has always intuited as possible, long before modern scientific theories. What's interesting is that by viewing the universe as a hologram, time travel stops being something mystical or fantastical and becomes a real possibility within the structure of the cosmos. If everything is interconnected within the holographic field, and if time is just one dimension of this field, then the mind, functioning as a hologram, can access different parts of this energy web. And the pineal gland would be the mechanism that opens this portal. More than that, the holographic universe theory suggests that the past, present, and future exist simultaneously as parts of the same whole. By activating the pineal gland and entering elevated states of consciousness, our mind could tune in to these different frequencies, allowing us to see past or future moments as if they were happening now. This would explain the reports of people who, in deep meditation or out-of-body experiences, claim to have had visions of future events or revisited past moments with extraordinary clarity. The pineal gland, therefore, acts as a receptor of information that is beyond our usual perception. When tuned to the universal hologram, it allows the mind to access these different layers of reality, enabling experiences that transcend time and space. These experiences are described in various spiritual traditions as states of enlightenment or cosmic consciousness. in which the mind connects with something greater and timeless. Another fascinating aspect of the relationship between the pineal gland and time travel is the idea that time is not fixed. According to some quantum physics theories, there are an infinite number of timelines, and what we perceive as reality is just one of these possibilities. In other words, the past, present, and future are just different paths or frequencies that the mind can access or influence. In this sense, the human mind not only observes reality, but also has the power to interact with it, shaping and altering the flow of events. The pineal gland, functioning as a receptor of subtle energies, may allow human consciousness to jump between these different timelines. This would be like choosing which reality or sequence of events to experience, leading us to the idea of alternate realities. Many accounts from people who practice deep meditation or other forms of consciousness expansion describe experiences where time seems to behave in unusual ways. They report the feeling that they can choose between different futures or visualize alternative versions of themselves in parallel realities. This not only reinforces the idea that time is malleable, but also suggests that by accessing these different realities, we can consciously influence the course of events. If time is indeed a mental construct, then activating the pineal gland would allow us not only to see past or future events, but also to decide which timeline to follow. Imagine that every choice we make creates a new path, a new timeline. The pineal gland, by tuning into different frequencies of the universe, could allow the mind to navigate these multiple realities, choosing the sequence of events that best aligns with our desires and intentions. This phenomenon is closely related to the idea of timeline jumps, which suggests that the future is not something fixed, but rather a field of possibilities. Instead of being prisoners of an inevitable fate, the human mind, through the activation of the pineal gland, would have the power to create new futures. It's as if we are standing at a cosmic crossroads, and the pineal gland is the key to opening the doors to different realities. Quantum physics teaches us that the act of observing can influence the outcome of an event. Similarly, by observing and intending a specific future, our mind could adjust its frequency to tune into the desired reality. In this context, the pineal gland acts as an amplifier of this intention, allowing human consciousness to connect with the universe's energy field and create changes in the flow of time. The activation of the pineal gland is not limited to mystical or spiritual experiences. By interacting with these different realities and timelines, we are essentially exercising a creative power over our destiny. This is where modern science and spirituality converge. The idea that the human mind can profoundly and transformatively influence the world around it. The future, like the past, is a mental construct that can be navigated and even altered with the activation of the pineal gland. This doesn't mean that we physically travel to the past or future, but that our consciousness can access these dimensions, allowing us to shape our reality according to our perception and intention. This next video talks exactly about that.